Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 1, Episode 5 of the Dozer Tactical Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Mendoza, and thanks for joining us. For today's episode, we are joined by a member of the Armed Forces who is always sharpening and owning his tactical skills. Please welcome Mr. Luke Stover to the show. Luke, thanks for being here.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
No problem. Luke, can you share with our listeners some of your recent achievements and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm currently enlisted in the Air Force. Been in over 5 years, and I recently started instructing here in Missouri and taking a lot more classes. Getting out in January, so that's pretty much all you need to know about me.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for your service. I really appreciate your sacrifices.
Oh, thank you.
For this podcast, we talk about recent news articles, firsthand experiences, preparedness tips, and tactics for everyday disasters and emergencies. Any articles, gear, and training courses discussed in this episode will be provided with links in the episode description. All right, well, Luke, with all the crazy turmoil that the United States is currently involved with, I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk to you specifically about the civil unrest and the preparation for a civil war. Today, we'll talk about a recent news article, we'll give some context about the civil unrest, and finally, we'll discuss some gear and how to tactically set up your equipment to best handle a civil war. So turn up the volume, get comfortable, and prepare for another exciting episode of the Dozer Tactical Podcast. So before we begin this podcast, I just want to reach out to all you listeners and say, thanks for tuning in. Some of you may know I was in military training for quite some time, for about 6 months. So the show has kind of gone offline, but we're bringing it back up. We got a whole new season planned out. We got so many great guests, just like Luke today. We got a lot of experienced guys who are going to be coming on. And I think you guys are going to get some really good information. So thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel, and, enjoy today's episode. Luke, let's begin by talking about our news article and helping to give our listeners some context about the civil issues occurring in America right now. So let's talk about the Capitol Hill one, because I think that's something that most people are aware of and most people can kind of relate to.
Yeah, that's a pretty hot subject right now, especially since the news media wants to turn every little thing into a social issue, you know.
Yeah, so for you guys that already are aware, we had the Capitol Hill rioters a little while back. This was back in January, but surprisingly enough, there's more articles every day that are still coming out about this stuff. More racial issues, more, this is a political agenda. And I mean, at the bottom line, we were talking about this a little earlier before we started recording. You guys just got to take what's out there and just make sure that you're not believing every single thing that's said, especially in these news articles. I'm not a huge component of trying to make people believe in what I believe in, but a lot of this stuff, you got to read between the lines. This is all just a hate agenda. This is just to get everyone all riled up and pointing fingers at each other and want to kill each other, when really that's not the case. Luke, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely, especially with the big media, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Like, they're gonna want you to believe what they want you to believe. It's like we said, the riots and storming the Capitol. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Like, I know they say some of them were white supremacists and they were all Trump supporters, but I think it's just, in reality, it's a bunch of people fed up with how this country's being run right now, with them trying to bring in more gun control laws and just everything else. Like, it's ridiculous, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt that you read through CNN, or even Fox News now is getting to the point where you can't take everything how it is. Like, you have to read all points of view from it and take from it the actual information. You can't just read it and make your mind up. You have to come up with your own opinions, because especially the Capitol riots, like we said, it's very complicated, especially everything that's coming out about it. You can't just take it for what it is.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into another article that we were talking about. So this one occurred just recently. This was on June 17th, 2021. Here we are. We have kind of gotten past the Black Lives Matter. We've gotten past the Capitol Hill. But again, I bring it up. We're still talking about this, and the news media and a lot of the news, like journals and bloggers, they're still trying to make this stuff very relevant. So in this recent article, it says protester sues New Orleans police city for injuries from gas grenade. So this story basically is about a woman who says that she was seriously injured when a tear gas grenade struck her in the head last year during a protest after the killing of George Floyd. And here we go again. You know, we're bringing up George Floyd, and we're now trying to get to the financial matters of these issues. People are getting sue happy now, and it's like, when is this stuff going to stop? We've already seen how much damage these protests have done. We've seen the kind of crazy behavior that's been out there. Why are we continuing on this train?
I think the protests are ridiculous because almost every single one that I have saw has somewhat ended in violence or like a standoff with law enforcement. Suing the city for using a gas grenade or like maybe a flashbang or something, that's ridiculous. Like, because most of these protests end in violence as they are, you know? So, I mean, you getting hit with a gas grenade, you're kind of asking for that at a protest that turns violent. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like going to a baseball game and getting hit by the pitcher. Like you trying to sue the pitcher when you're up to bat. Like,
Exactly.
Come on, man. Like,
I got a I got a motto in here. I'm sure you guys remember, but my motto has always been: you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Definitely.
And I feel like that is exactly what is going on here, and people don't want to own up for it. You're right.
In today's day and age, everybody wants to get everything given to them and handed to them, and they feel like they're never in the wrong. They have to have something handed to them in that sense. So it's like, yeah, you go to a violent protest, get smoked by a gas grenade. Oh, I need to sue now. Like, no, you were in the wrong. Like, yeah. Come on.
You know, and I would understand that if let's just take this article kind of at face value. Let's say this woman was just off on the street, minding her own business. She's kind of recording the protest like everyone does nowadays. And then she got hit with it. She wasn't even involved. That may be a little bit of a different circumstance, but something tells me that's not what she was doing. Something tells me she was right up in the action. She might, we don't know, but maybe she was one of those people that was getting right up in the officer's face and screaming this and screaming that. And, they threw a gas grenade. They're trying to break it up. I'm sorry.
But I would say even then, like if she's recording at that situation, like she's still in that situation. Like
yeah.
if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be wanting to record. Like I'd get the hell out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But by just showing up alone,
you're being there is an excuse to get hit with a gas grenade. Like,
yeah, you're trying to prove a point. I get that, but anyway,
come on,
guys. There's so many of these articles out there we've been reading about.
Oh, there's tons.
And they, like I said, they keep coming up about old stuff. Here's another one: man blinded by beanbag in Cleveland after racial protest sues sheriff's deputy. This was on June 4th. A man was hit in the face with a beanbag that left him blind in one eye during a racial injustice protest in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, a year ago. And again, this is a year ago. Why is this stuff now surfacing? Why are these the headlines?
Okay, yeah, that's ridiculous.
You got hit. I'm sorry, you got hit in the face with a beanbag. You're blind. And now you want to start causing a bunch of issues because you were there trying to do more damage than good.
That's what I don't get. These protests, they aim at, I don't even know anymore, and they cause way more harm than good because everyone sees it. Like most of them are televised. They're going to make the news somehow, and most people in their right damn mind, they're going to see it and they're going to think you're an idiot for going out there and doing this because most of them turn. Well, I wouldn't say most, but we've seen a lot of them turn violent, and people see that and they're not going to support you because I know BLM and I don't know what other organizations, but they claim to be non-violent organizations that are supposedly trying to back the right thing. But when your stuff goes violent, that we see most of the time on TV, it makes you look like an idiot.
It does. It does 100%, man. I couldn't agree with you more. And, I think guys like us, we understand where we've been around the world a little bit. We've got some experience. The military's helped out a lot with that. But if you want to make a change, you're not going to make a change by being an idiot. You're not going
No,
to make a change by hurting people. You're going to make a change by being intelligent, by sitting down, taking the proper steps, talking to who you need to talk to, making sure your voice is heard, but not crying and throwing temper tantrums and doing all this ridiculous stuff out there to get your way.
no, that is definitely true.
I think we've kind of went over the general message, what we're trying to get at here. But as you guys know, from the beginning of 2021, even towards, I think the middle part of 2020 itself, the whole world has just kind of been everywhere. I remember when President Joe Biden was elected, that caused a huge unrest, at least in my hometown. People were prepared to go to war if he got elected. He got elected.
Oh yeah. I would say the exact same thing. I remember when he got elected, my mom was texting me and she was ready for shit to go down. Like she was texting me freaking out. She's like, "Where's your spare ammo? Where's this? Where's that?" I was like, just chill for a minute. I was like, hold on. And definitely the same way for mine, because I come from a town of 3,000 people, and they were freaking out.
Yeah, it was nuts. I remember going down. We have a little beach over here at Grover Beach, and I was driving down their main strip, and all the shops had their windows boarded up with plywood.
I believe it.
You had a couple guys with guns in their stores, and it was just like, what in the world is going on? No one knew. No one knew. Nothing.
No one had a clue. No one had a clue what was going to happen.
But it was a little intimidating to see all this going on, especially for people who are unprepared. They see all this going on around them. They see, guys like us talking about, our guns, and we're prepared, and we got all this training, we're good to go. And then you got someone who maybe isn't so well versed in guns or self-defense or just, general safety. And they're like, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think that's why you see a lot of the markup on ammo and firearms now, is because excuse me, all these things are happening, with Biden being elected, and people are freaking out because it happened and they're not ready, because they had all this time to get ready, and then it happens and they're like, oh shit, I don't have a rifle, or I don't have a handgun, or I only have 50 rounds of 9mm and I need to get training. So they're buying up all the ammo and all the firearms. And that's why there's a huge markup now, because I know I was looking at getting a 6-hour MCX, and I saved a bunch of money for it because they originally like $1,900. I go to buy one, and I think they were like almost $4,000 now, because people were buying them like crazy, because one, they seen them off the new Call of Duty, and they're like, I have to have that. And two, people like, they're buying them up because that's what's big now, and they have to have it because all this shit's going down.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so the prices went up everywhere, especially here in California.
Definitely.
We just recently had the assault ban get lifted. So that was kind of nice, but there's still a lot of shortage on ammo. Things are still jacked up in prices. And that was because, when COVID first started and everything kind of started unraveling, you're right. Everyone went out and just went crazy and just bought everything that they possibly could, even if they didn't know how to use it. People were just buying, boxes and boxes of 9mm, and maybe they've never even shot a gun in their life.
That's the big problem is people go out and they buy these firearms, they buy the Gucci optics and the Gucci gear and all this ammo, but they don't get training. And that's kind of the scary part, because I know concealed carry, like here in Missouri, it's constitutional carry, which I am all for. The thing is, if you're going to carry, you need to get training, because there is a lot of legal guidelines you have to abide by, and there's a lot of stuff you need to know when carrying. Like that's a huge responsibility of carrying that firearm, concealed, and people don't get that training, and it's pretty scary. You have this guy who just went out and bought a brand new Colt AR-15 and has no idea how to work manipulations or basic fundamentals of marksmanship, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Well, it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
It's dangerous because it's essentially it's a tool. That's what a gun is. It's a tool. It's not
that is exactly what it is.
It's not a crazy murder weapon. And if I was going to go, for example, go do some construction, or I was going to go do some carpentry, or go do some electric work, I'm not going to do that with no training in those tools. I could hurt
You can't
myself.
do that with hands. You got to do that with the tool.
Exactly. And I think, overall, just as a whole picture, you guys see what's going on. You guys are obviously very well aware of what's happening in the world right now, and combine all that on top of the masks being lifted here in California, and just the overall vaccine. Do you get the vaccine? Do you not for COVID-19? I mean, I don't think we could be in any worse of a place right now. So with all this together as a whole, this is kind of what we're going to go over for the second half today. And we're going to just kind of go over some tips, some tricks, some tactics, kind of give you guys an idea of what to carry. You guys don't have to be crazy gun enthusiasts and be, super tactical, but we want to at least give you guys, like we were talking about, the right tools and the right information, and teach you guys where can you go for that stuff if you need to acquire it, or you just are looking to prepare yourself, because there's nothing better than being prepared. I mean, that's the whole point of having this podcast, is to prepare you guys to help you live longer, healthier lives and keep your family safe and, protect what's yours. Guys, we're going to go ahead and cut to a brief commercial break. And now a message from our sponsor. Welcome back, folks, to the Dozer Tactical Podcast. I'm joined today by a special guest, Luke Stover, and we just finished going over the crazy events and position that the United States is currently in. Now that we've established a baseline for all the chaos and the reasoning to prepare yourself, Luke and I will go into more details and more depth about what gear we recommend to use, how to tactically set it up, and some basics on how to use your equipment out in the field. Disclaimer: these tactics and advice should only be used if you have been professionally trained and have received the proper licensure or credentials. Do not attempt these tactics unless you are trained to do so. The Dozer Tactical Podcast is not liable for any injuries or loss of life due to the techniques discussed in this podcast.
So you want me to go over like my personal kit that I run first?
Yeah, so let's just kind of talk everyone through. Let's talk about our personal kits, and we're kind of leaning more towards just kind of everyday carry stuff, and then we'll kind of go into more. Let's say World War III breaks out. What do you bring into the table?
Okay, so my everyday carry, I have it's a inside the waistband little Kydex holster that my dad had made me, actually. I like it, and I wear it as appendix carry, which means it's right in my front of my person. And then I carry a Glock 19, and I swap the sights out on it. I think I have some Talon grips on it from like 4 years ago, but that's like my everyday. And a flashlight. I keep a little, I think it's I can't remember what type of flashlight. It's just a little pocket flashlight. Because you always need some form of illumination on your person if you're gonna carry, or like on your main kit. You always need that source of illumination.
So that's what you do on the street. Now, we're just kind of doing theoretically here, but let's say all hell breaks loose. What are you doing then? What are you bringing to the table? What should these guys be fearful if they see you coming down the street?
So my main kit, I have my I have a CMMG, kind of like Frankenstein AR with a PEG 15 and an EOTech and my weapon light. I usually have around 4 to 5 mags, usually ready to go. 1 on my my battle belt, and 3 in my carrier, and 1 in my rifle. Plates I have are just standard issue government. I think they're level 4 plates that I run with, and then the battle belt. Because the big thing is, if something like that did pop off and you're like in an urban environment, you don't want to be rocking the multicam cries or super Gucci camo. Like, you want to try and blend in. That's the big thing.
Sure.
Now if you're more in a wooden sort of environment, then yeah, you could probably get away with rocking cries or multicams or whatever. You could probably get away with that. But if you're more in a city type of environment, you're gonna stand out. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
what regular person is gonna be wearing multicams in the middle of a city? You know, that makes you a target.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Because I would say, like, for me, we live in mostly a sort of wooded area, so I run a 16-inch AR because that's going to get the most out of my rifle, because I'm going to get the most velocity out of that round where we're at. Because I would say, if I had to guess, most distance that I'm going to be, if I had 10 gauge someone, is probably going to be over 50 yards. So that's going to get the most out of that round. Now, if you're in an urban setting, you're probably going to want something a little smaller. Let's say probably something below 14 and a half to probably shorter, just because you're going to be dealing with a lot more CQB. Then you're probably going to also have to get more training with that too. But I also have my bump helmet, which I run nods on sometimes. I'm trying to think what else. I do have a radio. I have a bow fang. It's kind of cheap, but it gets the job done. And then tourniquets. Tourniquets are a big thing, because if you get shot, it doesn't matter how much training you have behind a gun, you're going to bleed out, or you're going to, So a big rule of thumb is, however many limbs you have on your body, that's how many tourniquets you want to bring.
And I am so glad you said the tourniquets thing. And guys, I mean, as you know, just me being a medic, that's something that I always try to push on people. I know not everyone is as into medicine and all the medical stuff as I am, but please keep some tourniquets on you.
Have a tourniquet.
At least a tourniquet. If you can, ideally have a little first aid kit, a self first aid kit. But yes, I'm just advocating for myself and for everyone else. Just a couple tourniquets. That's all I ask.
That's a huge thing. You want, if you're gonna get big into making your kit, you don't just need a rifle. You don't just need a plate carrier of some sort. You need an IFAK. You need one. Like, that is huge.
Yes.
You need your tourniquets and you need an IFAK with some gauze, anything, because you get shot or your buddy gets shot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, it's always so important to make sure that you have the proper training too. And so we're not saying that you have to go through and you have to be really proficient in all this stuff, but you would be surprised at how much more confident you'll feel if you just go through and maybe take a gun course once a year. Just do like a refresher.
Definitely.
Regardless of who you are or what your stance is, you go to the gun range, you sit down with a certified instructor, they teach you some of the basics, and then maybe you go through, and there's millions of courses all over. I know they provide a Stop the Bleed course through the Department of Defense, and it's a real quick, I think it's 1 to 2 day medical course, and they just teach you how to apply a tourniquet, how to stop bleeding, how to improvise, how to make sure that you're going to call 911, making sure that you're safe, just some basic stuff. And this stuff is really important, you guys, because as you know, our political climate and just our climate as in general is constantly heating up.
I'd say, if anything, go out, but find someone like a certified instructor who puts out videos, watch them, and just practice them in your home. Anything from first aid to basic fundamentals of marksmanship. There's videos on everything on YouTube. It's a huge platform, and there is some really good content. And a lot of the stuff they teach on there, we go through our firearms courses. Like, you don't need to pay for them. Like, they're already there. They're free. They're on YouTube. Like, just go out there and watch them and just practice them in your home.
Exactly. And if you want to take that step and you want to get more involved into it, and maybe you don't know where to go, maybe you don't know what videos to watch or what to search, you can always reach out to us. You can contact us on our Instagram pages or reach out
Definitely.
to us and we'll set you up in the right direction. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But Luke and myself, we both offer tactical courses. We're instructors. We have a lot of knowledge to share with you guys as well. So, don't ever hesitate. Any questions you guys have about things, or if you just want to bounce some ideas off, let us know. We're here to help you guys. So another thing I want to talk about with you, Luke, is so we went over kind of your kit, what you carry, but something I wanted to let our listeners know about was, let's talk about timing and how fast you have to be. I wanted to just kind of talk about how it's important to have a kit always ready. And that could be something as simple as just a backpack. You have a backpack, you've got a couple days worth of food and water. You got, a decent medical kit in there. Maybe you have a couple rounds of extra ammunition. Maybe you have an extra gun. Maybe you have a knife, some flint, just that kind of stuff. And just how important it is to be able to grab that bag quickly to have it accessible to you in case you would have to go hit the road. Maybe you have to go do some long distance driving and stuff like that. Luke, what would your ideal kind of starter kit be for a lot of our guys listening who maybe don't have a lot of experience out there? What would you recommend to have some items to carry in like a little backpack, and then maybe like an evacuation plan should something happen?
Definitely. So a big thing is your kind of your egress plan, and that's something you want to have if you have family members who live in your home, or anyone. You want to share that with them. Yeah, you possibly want to print it out, put it somewhere, or let them know what that is, so they know where to go, or to stay put, or where anything is. Like, they need to be in the know. Another thing is, if you were in your vehicle, I know some companies now, like, you have the law folders for ARs, and little PCC, little compact little carbines. You always want to have something on you. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. Like I carry my Glock with me. If I could carry my AR with me, I would, everywhere. Most of the time, I usually have my plate carrier in the truck, so it's almost always going everywhere I go. Or I have my first line, my battle belt, and that usually has one spare mag for my AR, and usually two for my Glock. But and I have an IFAK on that as well. If you're going somewhere, you want to have at least something with you. And then if not, if someone's at your home, you have the rest of your gear there with them that they can take care of it. And then they know that sort of egress plan or whatever you've devised. Because food's a big one too. Usually I have like a snack or something on me, which isn't enough, but no one's really going to carry that in their personal vehicle. But you want to have something at least stocked up in your home, where, if shit goes down, you at least have 2 to 3 days worth of food and water. Where if the water gets turned off in your apartment or your house, you at least have something like bottled water, or you have a natural well on your property, which is a godsend, or you have just any source of water would be good. Bottled water would do fine though. Yeah, that's pretty much really all I have for that though.
Yeah, I just like to agree with that. A couple more points here. But yeah, I always say just make sure that you talk about it with your family, with your friends, whoever you're living with, girlfriends, and just make sure that you guys have an idea of what you're going to do. So if you live in a relatively busy city and things start getting a little wild and you guys are just kind of unsure if you guys will be safe or not, I would recommend grabbing your bags and leaving as soon as you can, because you can always come back home. And if you guys,
definitely in a bigger city, you don't want to stick around for that.
Yeah, if you're living in a big city, you guys have to think in terms of survival, how much traffic there's going to be, how many people are going to be running around. There's going to be delays, there's going to be detours. So you want to get out of there as quickly as possible. Another thing too is with your bags. So make sure you have some kind of weapon with you. Make sure a radio is always important to have. That way you can always kind of hear what's going on. You can listen in and just kind of get an update from a timely basis of as to how things are looking in your area. Again, food and water is very critical. I personally carry it's from Geiger Rig, and it's this little water filtration system. It's kind of like a little drinking straw. So basically, if I were to go out into the wilderness and I could just go through to a river, set it all up, and I can have pure, clean drinking water right there. And I think it weighs no more than maybe 2 or 3 pounds, and it fits in my pocket. So that's something.
So they also make the life straws too. I think I have a couple of those. Those are pretty nifty little things.
Yeah. So
those are something you can throw in your pocket.
Exactly. No, they're really handy. I've actually used it out before. I was thirsty and ran out of water, and we were out.
Pretty cool.
We were out hiking, and I used it, and it worked fine. I didn't get sick, so
they're pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, just that kind of stuff. Make sure you guys are prepared on you. Maps are also another really important one. If you don't,
huge.
I know we have smartphones now, we have GPS and all that, but you guys also got to think, if worst comes to worst, you can't rely on something that's not going to be there. Technology, it can break. A map is, if you know how to use a map and you know how to use a compass, you can get to everywhere you need to go no matter what. Just keep that in mind.
If you know how to shoot an azimuth with a compass, you know more than probably 95% of the people on Earth today. So
yeah. And these are just, little things that they may not sound like much, but when things get serious, you would be surprised how helpful some of these little things that we're talking about are. And then finally, I don't know if we talked about this to the same extent. I pretty much assumed it, but for my self-defense weapons, I always carry hollow tip ammunition, because for me, at least in my opinion, if I'm going to shoot someone, I already know that I'm confident. I know I'm trying to stop the threat, and I'm trying to do nothing more, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't have to keep worrying about that person getting back up. So that's what I personally use. But what do you think on that, Luke?
So I know there's another company. I just saw a video not too long ago. I think it's G5 ammo, I think is what they're called, but they make them for 9mm, and they are nasty. They're self-defense ammo. My Glock though, I usually just carry just standard full metal jacket rounds for mine, because I'm cheap and I shouldn't be that way. But but that's what I have. If I could, I would carry hollows. I also heard though there is sometimes some problems with some malfunctions with hollow points. I haven't really seen it though, but I know some people have had some problems with them in the past. But usually I'll just stick to F&J, just standard loads.
Sure.
But hollows are definitely, they're pretty nasty if you have to use them in that situation.
Yeah, I currently carry a 1911 on me, and I use hollow points for that, and that's more my self-defense. But needless to say, a 45 caliber bullet with hollow points is going to stop whatever's in front of it. So
I'd say a 45 alone would put something down.
I just like to be extra sure. I'm a little bit of an overachiever.
You can't be too sure, right?
Exactly. So. All right, guys. Well, that was the end of this episode, and man, what a great episode with such a knowledgeable and great guest. Luke, thanks for being here today on the Dozer Tactical Podcast. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say to our audience?
Yeah, so if anyone is in the Missouri area, the Kansas City area, if you need training, you can reach out to myself, or you can look up SNS Tactical Solutions, or GP Armory does some things, and Holistic Solutions. They're a new and up and coming company who we've kind of partnered with SNS. If you need to find that training, look us up. I know you can find us on Instagram. SNS is a Facebook page. I have an Instagram as well, Tactical Stove. I guess that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, and for you guys that are interested in checking out any of his pages or his ventures, all his information will be posted in the episode description, so you can just go in there and click the links, and then everything is right there for you. Please
remember to leave us a review and 5-star rating, and support the Dozer Tactical Podcast with monthly donation. You can do so by selecting a link in the show's description, and there are now over 10 podcast platforms, so please spread the word out and help the listeners. and become fans. Check out the store and snag you some clothes. Link will be in the description and the bio on the Instagram bio.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for more tactical stories and advice. I'm your host, Dan Mendoza, and I want you to stay safe, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay tactical. Luke, thanks again for being here.
Oh, thanks, man. I really enjoyed it.